We're 13 weeks into the season, and there's still no clear answer on who's going to win MVP. Today, we're going to be looking at all the players who have a chance as of right now to win MVP. First up is Patrick Mahomes, and so far he's having his worst season when it comes to the stats, but that's not saying a lot. That would be in most players' best seasons. But looking at the stats, 8th in passing yards, 5th in passing touchdowns, same amount of picks as Tua with 10, and he's 8-4, which is currently 4th in the AFC. As of right now, I'd put him below Tua, and I don't think he's going to win MVP, but you never know. Crazy things can happen, and with Mahomes, he's definitely not out the picture quite yet. Next up, Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts. So far this season, he's 11th in passing yards, 2nd in rushing yards for quarterbacks. He's 11th in passing touchdowns, has 10 interceptions just like the previous two, and he's 10-2 with the Eagles this season, which is number 1 in the NFC. To be honest, with those stats, I do not see him winning MVP. The only reason I really put him in here is because he has been good this season and he's led the Eagles to the best record in the NFL so far. Next up is Texans quarterback CJ Stroud, who is having one of, if not the best rookie season of all time. Not only that, but he's completely turned the Texans around from a really bad team to one of the best in the NFL. Well, not one of the best, but a 7-5 record is a big jump. So far this season through 12 games, he's 1st in passing yards, 8th in passing touchdowns, and he only has 5 interceptions, which so far is the least amount of interceptions. However, that 7-5 record is going to hold him back a little bit, but again, he's playing on the Texans. Next up is Lions QB Jared Goff, and after looking at his stats, he's been one of the most underrated players so far this season. So far this season, he's 4th in passing yards, tied 8th in passing touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and he's led the Lions to a 9-3 record, which is 3rd in the NFC. Next up is 49ers QB and Mr. Irrelevant from 2022, Brock Purdy, and if he wins MVP after being Mr. Irrelevant last year or 2 years ago, that will be absolutely insane. But also, I'm not gonna lie, this would be one of the worst MVPs of all time. It's like 2002 Rich Gannon. I take that statement back of him being one of the worst MVPs ever. I really shouldn't have said that. Sorry, Brock. But anyway, looking at his stats, 7th in passing yards, 4th in passing touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, and so far he's led the 49ers to 9-3 record and 2nd seed in the NFC. He's definitely up there in the MVP talks. And the last quarterback we're going to be talking about, and I'm being completely unbiased when I say this too, I think this guy, as of right now, is going to win MVP, and he's also the favorite to win MVP. I can't believe I just said that. It's Dak Prescott. So far this season, he's 5th in passing yards, 1st in passing touchdowns, only 6 interceptions thrown, and his team's 9-3 so far, which isn't even leading the division because you have the Eagles, and I think that's the only thing that's really holding him back. I really want to focus in on the 6 interceptions right there, as last season he only played 12 games due to a finger injury really early in the season, and somehow in 12 games he threw 15 picks, which is the most in the NFL, and so far he's only thrown 6, which ties for 2nd lowest out of all the quarterbacks we've talked about. The Eagles-Cowboys game this Sunday is going to decide a lot on the MVP race. We're now done with the quarterbacks, and in this year's MVP race, there are a few non-quarterback players that have a real shot at winning MVP, and first is Christian McCaffrey. So far this season, he's number 1 in rushing yards, number 2 in rushing touchdowns, and he has 429 receiving yards, which is the most of any running back so far this season. He has without a doubt been the best running back in the NFL this season, and he's an MVP candidate. Next up is wide receiver Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins. Just like how Christian McCaffrey has been the best running back this year, Tyreek Hill has obviously been the best wide receiver this year, as he's number 1 receiving yards and number 1 receiving touchdowns, and at this pace, he's going to hit 2,000 receiving yards. Earlier, I said Dak Prescott is my MVP, but I changed my mind. Tyreek Hill is the MVP for me, even though Dak Prescott does lead odds in MVP voting right now. Well, not voting, but you get it. Lastly, all 5 of these guys who are chasing for not only the sack title this season, but the sack record for a single season. These guys are Khalil Mack, which doing it at this age is very impressive, so props to him. TJ Watt, Danielle Hunter, Josh Allen, and Myles Garrett, and I think if one of them were to break the single season sack record, they could have a shot at MVP. So that's everyone I'm going to talk about today. I'm probably missing some guys, but this race is insane. There's really no clear answer on who's going to win it yet, so I'd like to know who y'all think should be the MVP right now.